I recall 2016 when Donald Trump won, and there was a collective screech from many on the left as they wailed and cried and panicked over the election of Donald Trump. They said our rights will be eroded. He is a fascist and authoritarian. He's a racist and bigot, all the worst things in the world. And it turned out none of those things were true and none of those things happened. But they're still using the exact same excuses in order to push through the same exact demands for power. And now we're seeing it. Ruth Bader Ginsburg has passed with respect. She was a tremendous woman who led an amazing life and made many accomplishments. Though I may disagree with some of her rulings and agree with many of them, I think we can all recognize the service. But now Democrats are saying nothing is off the table. Nothing. If Republicans replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg before January, nothing is off the table. In fact, in an interview, Nancy Pelosi was asked whether or not she would consider impeachment to jam up any potential nomination process, and she refused to rule it out. Now, I got to admit, it's kind of slimy when a journalist goes like, well, I know no one brought this up, but what about impeachment? But the fact that Nancy Pelosi didn't just immediately scoff and say, oh, come on. No, because she's probably considering it. She said, I have many arrows in my quiver for which we have not drawn. And then she had a weird pause. It's kind of a crazy thing. Anyway, the point is, everything's been on the table from the get-go. The Democrats have literally, they accused Brett Kavanaugh of going to parties where men would drug women and they would line up outside the room taking turns abusing this woman. What do you mean nothing's off the table? It never was. And we all know it. You people went nuts because that day, 2016, when Donald Trump got elected, especially on Inauguration Day, something broke. Their minds shattered. And I got to say, I think it's because the media kept telling them, here's the truth. Here's the facts. Here's the proof. Trump can't win. Trump can't win. Hillary will. And then when they got proven wrong, their worldview exploded in front of them. And they need to go through a collective therapy session to figure out what's gone wrong since then. Because coming out now and threatening the American people with violating process, norms, and procedure because you want power is insane. I'll tell you how this country works. We vote for representatives. They go and they make decisions. And guess what? Trump won and the Republicans won the Senate. You know what that means? It means you don't get to cry that now certain rulings will be made by a conservative Supreme Court. People voted. And they're saying the Republicans are hypocrites who only believe in raw political power. And the Democrats aren't. And I'll tell you what. As I see stories like this about, the Democrats' Armageddon Option, that's what they're calling it. It sounds like we are in a cold civil war. Two factions fighting over control of one government. And look, I don't think it's the Republicans that are causing the problems. I really don't. They won fair and square. They have the power. They have the right, and they're going to do it. Do I trust that they'll maintain their principles? Most of the Republicans, no, absolutely not. So it's easy for them to take the high road when they're in fact winning. I also don't think Trump is a real Republican. I think he's an insurgent who came in. He's a right-wing populist. But what are we seeing now? The left is concerned they're going to lose some key positions, some key rulings. Roe v. Wade, for instance, well, if people voted for for Republicans, that's what happens. And now they're scared that November 3rd, if Trump wins, or if they don't get their nominee, if Trump gets his nominee, then they're really going to lose out for a generation or whatever. Look, man, Trump and the Republicans won. You have to accept that. The Democrats won't, however. And that's the important point when they talk about Armageddon. I know Axios may be trying to exaggerate or be facetious, but I think we really are looking at a political Armageddon. If the Democrats can't accept for 4 years that the Republicans won over and over again, well, then we don't have a functioning constitutional republic with democratically elected representatives. What we have are two factions fighting for control, and that's it. And like I said, man, I don't blame the Republicans for this because they're doing their thing. The Democrats, however, refuse to accept any of the rules. So what are they saying? Well, they're going to pack the courts. We're going to just totally upend the Supreme Court because we lost. We're going to override the will of the voters. We're going to change the entire election process because we want power. Well, you didn't win the power. The American people didn't choose you. So what they're saying right now is we don't care. We will take it by any means necessary. Now, it's the activists for the most part that are saying that, but I think you know where this goes. Let's take a look at the Democrats' Armageddon option and what Nancy Pelosi was saying. Impeachment? Really? Now, I'll point the finger at the media on this one, but come on, Nancy, disavow this stuff. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you would like to support my work. There are many ways you can give. I got a P.O. box if you want to send me some stuff. But the best thing you can do, share this video. I do not have a large marketing department. I rely on word of mouth. If you think I do a good job, seriously, sharing this video, if everybody who watched this video shared it, I'd be bigger than CNN in a week. No joke, because it's hundreds of thousands of people who tune in. Every single one of those shares translates again. If you think these kinds of conversations are important and people need to hear it, then I rely on you. It's up to you. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let's read. What's going on? Impeachment? Nancy Pelosi refuses to rule out using impeachment as a way to tie up the Senate floor, as she accuses Donald Trump of using Supreme Court vacancy to try to crush the Affordable Care Act. I saw that and I said, so what? So what? Okay, listen, I have my opinions. I like the idea of covering pre-existing conditions. I like the idea of a public option. I also like the idea that sometimes I don't win. You know why? Because we're a collaborative community. All right, if people go out and vote and I lose, I go, well, you can't win them all. Some days I do videos and I work really hard on them and I think it's a really important subject and then nobody wants to watch it. And I say to myself, well, sometimes sometimes you lose. You can't win them all. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, but the Affordable Care Act, people's rights and all that, listen, you are not the arbiters of morality. You do not control the world. This system we have is delicate. It functions properly because sometimes you lose and sometimes you win. You need to recognize that if the Affordable Care Act gets removed by the Supreme Court, it's because people voted for this. They voted for these politicians. The politicians made the decisions, and that's what you get. And if you don't like it, go out and vote for someone else. So that's the best answer. But what are we getting instead? Potential impeachment? What other absurdities do they have in her? What other absurdities does Nancy Pelosi have in her quiver? House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Sunday refused to rule out pushing forward a privileged impeachment resolution that would have the effect of eating up Senate floor time and potentially stalling a Supreme Court nomination. We have our options. We have arrows in our quiver that I'm not about to discuss right now. But the fact is, we have a big challenge in our country, she told ABC's This Week when asked about the prospect. This president has threatened to not even accept the results of the election, Pelosi continued. Oh no, Trump threatened not to accept the results of the election. I seem to recall a political party that still hasn't accepted the results of the election. That's kind of the point of everything I said up until this point. The Democrats haven't accepted it. I did, and I didn't vote for the Republicans. I'm just like, well, there you go. Let's learn to survive. Maybe it's because I'm kind of in the middle. I don't see the Republicans winning as all that bad. It's not that big of a difference. But look, right now, if the Democrats won, it would be a huge swing to the far left. And that freaks me out, I got to admit. Host George Stephanopoulos had asked the speaker about impeaching either Trump or Attorney General Bill Barr as part of a strategy to slow the nomination, with Senate Democrats holding little leverage to act on their own. And President Donald Trump saying he will nominate a successor to Ruth Bader Ginsburg this week following Ginsburg's death Friday. I saw a video of Mitch McConnell from 2013, and it was when they got rid of I think the video was about, you used to need 60 votes to confirm a Supreme Court justice. And he said something like, maybe this wasn't it, but they changed the rules to simple majority. And Mitch McConnell said, you will regret this day, and sooner than you think. And here we are. You look, the Democrats changed the rules because they want to win. The Republicans, you can call them hypocrites all day and night. Everybody just wants to win. Now, I happen to think the Republicans actually have an argument. I think the argument is the Senate majority was strengthened in 2018 and Trump is the president. They want his agenda to be fulfilled. That wasn't true with Obama. In Obama's last 2 years, we saw a Republican Senate come in and they said we were voted because people didn't like what the president was doing. And that's excellent. That's actually checks and balances. And so be it. And guess what happened? Were the American people upset with the Republicans? No. Were Democrats? Of course. In 2016, when the next wave of seats, when seats started popping up for Republican senators, did they get voted out? In fact, they maintained their majority. In 2018, they strengthened their majority. Actually, I'm not sure if anybody had anything up in 2016, any senators. The point I'm trying to make is, where's the comeuppance? Where the American people saying, well, we didn't like what the Republicans did with Obama? No, it's just the Democrats. Regular people probably didn't care. They were probably like, no, we don't want. They probably didn't want Obama to get this stuff through. Anyway, Pelosi said the vacancy would galvanize supporters and told Americans, you can vote, you can get out the vote. Yes, she's correct, and I respect that. She repeated her veiled threat when Stephanopoulos asked her. But to be clear, you're not taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out. Good morning. Sunday morning, she responded, smiling. We have a responsibility. We take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. I don't know what that good morning Sunday. You got to watch it, because that clip from her when she's like, good morning Sunday morning. I mean, that seemed like I'm not gonna say anything because I know I'll get a lot of flack for it, but it seemed like some kind of mental episode. She like just stopped. She froze. You know what? Maybe I should just say it. It seemed like a potential seizure. And then she just froze up. Good morning, Sunday morning. And it's like, what? I don't like playing on mental health stuff, but I got to point it out because it literally happened and I'm reading the quote. You see, one thing I've talked about with Joe Biden and many other Democrats, well, mostly Joe Biden, is that the press, they don't give you the context of what really happened. They'll just finish the sentence for you. This makes it sound like she was slyly going, good morning, Sunday morning. We have a responsibility. But this was not an answer to the question, and it seems very strange. She said, we have a responsibility to meet the needs of the American people. When we weigh the equities, protecting our democracy requires us to use every arrow in our quiver. Well, what will that be? Armageddon. So it comes. From Axios, Democrats' Armageddon strategy. Furious Democrats are considering total war, profound changes to two branches of government, and even adding stars to the flag if Republicans jam through a Supreme Court nominee, then lose control of the Senate. This is insanity. I won't stand for this. Okay, when you lose, you lose. Think about it this way. You're playing a game of soccer with your friend, and you keep winning. And so your friend says, no, there's a new rule. You can't actually kick the ball twice. You can't kick it twice. In fact, you have to pass it. And then it's like, what, dude, you're changing the rules because you're losing. Look how far the Democrats are willing to go. Now, you may not be decided. You may be a Democrat or whatever. I know a lot of people I've talked to who watch say they're undecided or they can't vote for Trump. Let me ask you this. Would you really want to give the rule book to these people so they can rewrite everything so they don't lose again? That's ridiculous. Now, I know the Republicans win with the Electoral College and the Democrats are upset because it's not the majority. You know, it's 2% below the majority, but these are the rules. Changing the rules, it doesn't work that way. And I do not want to play a game with someone who's willing to change the rules in that way. That goes for Republicans, too. I don't like them either. But right now, they're not in the wrong. Here we go. On the table, adding Supreme Court justices, eliminating the Senate 60-vote threshold to end filibusters, and statehood for D.C. and Puerto Rico. If he holds a vote in 2020, we pack the court in 2021. Rep. Joe Kennedy of Massachusetts tweeted. And then how long until we get the state of Jefferson? You know about that? Up in Northern California, Oregon, Idaho, they want to fracture off part of Oregon, make a new state. How long until Greater Idaho exists next to North Jefferson or the state of Jefferson? If you want to make two new states, okay, add 4 more Democratic senators, then that's because you're losing. And I don't want to play with people who are losers who change the rules. Democrats are enraged by GOP hypocrisy, Axios reports, of rushing through a new justice for President Trump after stalling Obama's final nominee. But they're lying. They're lying. I will fully admit I was wrong about this. A couple of years ago, I said, I don't like the games they play. You know, Mitch McConnell was jamming up Merrick Garland. And I will say this. I think the Republicans have the real argument. Merrick Garland seemed like a really good dude. He was a moderate. In fact, my understanding is that some people said Obama would never even choose a moderate like Merrick Garland. And then Obama did. And they're like, well, we're not going to confirm him anyway. So it is what it is. I think the argument makes sense. I personally would have been like, just do your job, you know. But I guess one could argue the Senate's job was to be a check on Obama. And in the end, it didn't even matter. You know why? Because I do not expect Democrats or Republicans to do anything other than fight for their power. Now, I think they're fighting for what they believe is right. I believe everyone does. But this is different. Playing within the rules, I accept. This is something different. Dems aren't optimistic about blocking the nominee, but they have many ways of retaliating if they win Senate control and are licking their chops about real movement and ideas that have been pushed futilely for decades. For instance, the Constitution doesn't fix the number of justices, which could be changed by an act of Congress and the president's signature, according to the National Constitution Center. They'd have to win the presidency and the House and the Senate. And if they get all of it, that's what they'll do. You want to play these games? Okay. Let's say we get the Trump landslide. Red wave. The House flips back. The Senate flips back. We're talking Reagan era. Sweep 49 states. And then Trump says, we're going to add 5 justices, 4 justices, all conservatives, crushing any semblance of progressivism, leftism, or liberalism in the court. Is that what you want? Because you're telling them you will do it. Why won't they if they win? You think about what they're saying right now. If we win and you do that, if you do this and then we win, we're going to break all the rules and we're going to change everything. Thanks for the idea, guys. Then why shouldn't the Republicans? These people don't think at all. You know what, man? They really, really don't. They mentioned on ABC how Pelosi was asked about impeachment. And she says, well, we have our options. Again, look, it's really dumb that Stephanopoulos was like, and what about, firing a machine gun to the air and screaming wildly? You can ask him a million questions. I do think Pelosi should have said, oh, please, come on. That's a little over the top, isn't it? But she won't, because nothing's stopping the Democrats from just losing their minds. They say Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer sat on a call with his caucus yesterday after a moment of silence for Justice Ginsburg. He said, what? Whatever. Here's what he said. If Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Senate Republicans move forward with this, then nothing is off the table for next year. Let's unpack what that means. The most controversial of the proposed changes would be adding 2 more justices to the court. That is insane. At the funeral in July for John Lewis, Obama called the filibuster rule, which requires a 60-vote supermajority instead of a simple majority to advance legislation, a Jim Crow relic. Trying to turn the federal district into a state would be a constitutional thicket. But Democrats are talking anew about pushing statehood for D.C. and Puerto Rico, capturing the anything goes spirit among Democrats amid the court fight. D.C. statehood makes no sense. You know why? I actually heard a lawyer talk about this, saying that the federal government needs their own jurisdiction so that they're not playing favorites to states or under the jurisdiction of a state. The federal government needs to be independent. Thus, we have Washington, D.C. And I said, oh, wow, that actually makes a lot of sense. If they were inside, if it was literally under the jurisdiction of a state, if D.C. becomes a state, then D.C. as a state has jurisdiction over federal actions. That seems like a bad idea. The federal government needs to be an independent entity upon itself that sort of blankets over the rest of us. They say the big picture. Many Democrats see the GOP success at filling the federal judiciary with conservatives after Clinton's popular vote win. A sign that the machine of democracy is itself broken, and they view these structural changes as fixes. Well, they're not. They're cheating, and they can't stop crying about it. You know why they won the popular vote? California. If people move out of California, maybe then they could actually win the Electoral College the way things are supposed to be. Maybe if they actually tried to win people over in, Wyoming or Montana or Arkansas or any one of these states, they would actually win. But they don't. You see, they're urban ideologues. They live in their cities and they have a very urban, simplified worldview. Instead of going and talking to people in rural areas and saying, what can we do better? They say, I don't care about those people. I don't want their votes. Just change the rules so we win. You're supposed to fight for the votes. The left says, but because of the Electoral College, our votes don't count. Your vote is by state. The states vote for the president. It's the federal government. It's how it's supposed to work. In fact, one of the more interesting ideas I've heard recently was Ben Sasse apparently wants senators to be appointed by state legislature. And I say, that's it. That is brilliant. You know why? Do you even know who your state reps are? Do you know who your state representatives are? You probably don't. Most people don't. Yet they're making rules for your state. Laws. What if, in order to get your politician, you at the local level had to actually vote for your local reps, and your local reps then chose some senators to go to the federal government and have a conversation about how things work? Sounds like a good idea. I don't know if it's a perfect idea, but it sounds like a good idea. I'll tell you what. There's a big problem we're facing right now. As most of you know, I'm pretty liberal. I get angry emails all the time I really do, from like staunch conservatives saying like, you're so liberal and you need to, I understand. Look, I get it. I'm pretty liberal on a lot of issues. I am not a far left wing nut, but I'll tell you what, our reality is fractured. It is shattered. Okay. So we can sit back and watch the Democrats say they're going to burn everything to the ground unless they get their way. And that's terrifying. But the Democrats don't see it because they live in magical bubble world. I believe we're on the right side. I believe we're on the side of reality. And the reason I believe that is that I actually go out to different, I've been across the country. I've talked to a lot of people from across the country. I've had a lot of surprising conversations. While I do think there are a lot of urban liberals who hate Trump, don't think they actually know anything. Even my progressive friends who I was talking to a progressive friend recently, didn't know anything about what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse. Got all the details wrong, all the facts wrong. And I was like, dude, I will send you sources. Didn't know anything about the weird critical race theory whiteness stuff. And I'm like, dude, let me send you some sources. If they're not reading this stuff, then what information are they getting? Memes. That's what they're sharing. And I see these posts all the time and I'm like, that's not true. You're making that up. Somebody made it up and they know it works. I love this narrative that the right is inundated by fake news when they're actually not. There are too many sources on the right. Now, there are many people on the right who are inundated by fake news and believe it. Most people, however, regular Trump supporters, regular conservatives, moderates, and even the disaffected liberals and the walkaway liberals who are now whatever you want to call them. You know, I don't think everyone from walkaway is conservative, but many have walked away from the Democratic Party. Many of them regular people, and they can see where the fake news is coming from. And this is the coalition we're looking at right now, a real coalition of regular people saying, I just want the Democrats to stop. Take a look at this story this is from the New York Post. Majority of Americans want Senate to move on Supreme Court decision. Poll. Okay. So let's take that into consideration, right? According to the New York Post, most Americans want the Senate to move on Supreme Court decision. What does that mean? Most Americans, regardless of whether they're Republican or Democrat, believe the Senate should move forward with confirmation hearings for a Supreme Court justice this year. Okay, easy enough. If that's what the people want, if that's what the majority of voters say Trump should not nominate a Supreme Court justice. Okay, wait a minute. What's going on? From the Hill, a new poll says, from the same day, actually, published on the same day, the polls are taken at different times, that most people don't want Trump to nominate a Supreme Court justice. Okay, so let me get this straight. You don't want Trump to nominate anybody, but you do think the Senate should confirm somebody. Okay, you know what, man? I don't even know what's going on in this country anymore, to be completely honest. And I'm being a bit facetious. What I mean by that is in terms of the media. Now, obviously, I read the news all day, every day. I have a decent idea of what people are saying is happening and what we see in videos. But here's what I often say. You know, on my other channel, youtube.com/TimCastNews, I talk more about like things that happen. This channel is more about like political analysis and opinion with some big news stories if it really does dominate the cycle. And I often talk about Antifa, the riots, Black Lives Matter, Proud Boys and stuff and clashes. There's videos of this. I can watch the videos. I say, here's a video I watched. I watched all these videos. Here are the facts. It's called journalism. You know, when it comes to politics, however, the polls, you find a poll for anything. You look at, the Trump Real Clear Politics average, and it says today you've got, I think like Reuters, like Trump -8. Yesterday, Rasmussen, Trump +7. So which one is it? Whichever one fits your confirmation bias. So which is it? Well, I'll tell you what. The left are going to share the story where they're like, most people say Trump shouldn't even nominate somebody. Conservatives are going to share the one from the New York Post saying most people think they should nominate, they should confirm. It's just, so you know what? All that matters, I guess, is you go vote. You get everybody you know to vote. You got to do it because the left is right about one thing. They've said that Joe Biden absolutely must landslide, so there can be no question. Same is true for Trump. Trump must landslide. Now they're trying to game it. They're saying even if Trump landslides on November 3rd, he didn't really win. We can't continue to function this way. The media is cheating. Social media is cheating. These leftists don't care to play fair. They just want power. And that means they're the last people should be allowed to who should be allowed to have them. When the Republicans play the same game, I'll slam them right in just the same way. As of right now, the Republicans aren't changing the rules. They won. That's it. Now you can call them hypocrites. That's fine. They still won. To talk about impeachment, overhauling all these things, they've lost it, man. They've lost it. But I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastNews, my other channel. And I'll see you all then.